Hey folks, welcome to Storytime with Max. If you don't know me, I am Max Porter. I'm the writer, editor, lore keeper, board game designer, stream runner, story reader here at City State Entertainment, where we are working on Camelot Unchained. See me and hear me. Good. I am going to be reading a story to you tonight. Or at least half of the conclusion of the Silverhands becoming story, which was published in our most recent newsletter. It's been a long and interesting and fun process to be developing the Silverhands becoming story. It's one of the most epic. Probably the most epic in length tale or becoming tale in our lore, and this is the final part of it. So you'll notice I am going to be reading it off of the laptop here because CSE printer is not currently working for me. So here we go. The Becoming the Silverhands, Part 7. The Tale of Nuada, Part 7. The outer skin of the merchant's tentacles was thick and rubbery, holding Nuada fast as he struggled. Twisting round, the former king of the Tuatha De Danann swept his blade through the horrors that surrounded him and the merchant as they wrestled. The things reached out fearlessly with their chubby, grasping limbs to weigh him down, wear him out. However, Nuada's silver arm didn't tire easily. Little by little he forced his way closer to the merchant, through the press of nightmarish tentacles and small creatures. The merchant only grinned wider, his cherubic face framed by the writhing mass. "You wonder why I am so calm," he sneered. You really don't understand a single thing about our home, do you? We are legion within the depths. You may kill some of us now, you may even defeat me, but you cannot defeat us all. We are many, we are one. We will always return. With this last phrase, the merchant hurled Nuada away with great force. Despite his bruised body, the Tuathan twisted in midair, landing safely in a puddle of ichor. Picking himself up, Nuada panted, gripped his sword in his silver hand, keenly aware of the blood of the slain that dripped down his body and along his weapon. "I will destroy you, even if it takes the remainder of my life," said Nuada. "Even if it means a true death. And if I do perish, only to fail, others will rise to destroy this place of horror. Of that you may be certain." "So stupid, so sweet, and so naive," chuckled the merchant, raising himself up on far too many limbs. "Your people won't destroy this place. They will fight to learn its secrets. And when those secrets are discovered, the survivors will fight one another to learn more." The raging battle all around seemed to fade away for Nuada, as if it were very far away. The merchant's hypnotic face seemed very near. His eyes glittered darkly, endless hallways into nothing. "These are but our first steps, Nuada. There are many dances yet to come." The merchant began swaying from side to side. Before Nuada could cut him down, the swaying form shimmered, transforming into something else. Where the merchant had been, A young woman now stood, smiling, in her blue dress. Nuada gasped, as Nimue raised her arms to him in greeting. She was alive, free, and happy. He didn't see the pouncing horror behind him until it leapt upon his neck. With a cry, he spun and ripped it off, but not before the thing bit deep into him, injecting a burning venom. His flesh was torn with a deep, bloody wound. Falling to a knee and grasping the warm, gushing wound in his neck, he looked up at the illusory Nimue advancing upon him, an eerie giggle playing about her lips. He could not move to avoid her. She smelled of flowers and snow. Then Nuada heard an unexpected sound. "Charge!" Miach roared as he joined the battle. The fake Nimue's head jerked up. Two Dvergar were running through the open space in the center of the birthing room. The pair of them looked down at their feet, heads pointed forward. Their crowns grew stonier as they ran, and in seconds they looked like rock-covered battering rams, rushing inexorably forward. Nimue's form shimmered back to the merchants, but before he could react, the two Dvergar struck him in the gut with incredible combined force. There was a crunch, and the merchant was thrown backward, tumbling end over end. His battering ram head melting back into his body, Miach straightened up and laughed. Then he spotted Nuada, crouching in pain. "Healer, you better come and help our fearless leader. He got quite a love bite from one of these nasties." Miach punctuated his holler by squashing one of the creatures between his stone-encrusted hands. The Hamadryad ran to Nuada's side, beating abominations out of her way as she went. Laying a hand on him, her power sealed his wound. She muttered, "Relax, Nuada. The battle is over for you. We'll take care of him." "Yeah, now that the Dvergar are here, this won't take much longer," bragged Miach, brushing his hands together to shake loose gobbets of gore. "Besides, look at that winged beauty over there. Why, she's barely bent a feather." Full of pride, he yelled, "How long can a Viking fight?" All the Vikings in the room responded, "All the day and through the night." Nuada wasn't paying much attention. He struggled to hold steady on his knees as the burning sensation of the venom worked its way through. "The merchant must be mine," he coughed weakly. "Healer, I know you can do something about this poison that weakens me." He struggled to his feet. "Not that one, Nuada. I'm so sorry." She shook her head and tail sadly. "Don't lie to me. I finally understand who you are," said Nuada. "Perhaps the taint of the depths has fallen from my mind. I finally remember." "Took you long enough," Miach muttered, as he tossed an abomination into the crowd. "You are of the Alsea." He squeezed his eyes shut as his companions held off the rushing monstrosities. "The mother of your people," said Nuada. "Hamadryas." "Yes, Nuada. I am she." Hamadryas nodded. "You remember the way to call forth life. You have the power to restore me, don't you?" said Nuada, coughing. "Yes, though it would come at a terrible price for you," Hamadryas answered, clenching her aching fingers. "I am prepared to pay any price," he said hoarsely. "To what end, Nuada?" she asked. "To kill and kill again?" "To save my friends, our people. To begin restoring the balance of nature in our realm. That is worth any price to me." He grasped her wrist with his blood-stained silver hand and stared into her strange eyes. Even eternal oblivion, if need be. She sighed. I wish you hadn't said that, Nuada. Though, at the same time, I am proud of you. Miach, hold him down. As I well know, this is going to hurt. The battle raged around them, life and death flowing through the chamber as Nuada struggled to breathe. Hamadryas called upon all of her powers, old skills she had long known, but little used. Taking the wound upon herself, she poured power into Nuada to drive out the poison. Draining herself of her deepest reserves, Hamadryas bestowed strength and speed upon the king of the Tuatha De Danann. Invigorated, his eyes flashing, Nuada jumped to his feet. Take care of her, Miach. I will return as soon as I am able. With that, he leapt toward the merchant once more, who was busily retracting his twisting tentacles. As Nuada approached, the merchant glanced up in alarm, then slipped out a hidden side exit. Nuada was about to follow him when he heard Miach's voice. Wait. How about using some of that newfound strength to free Nimue and John? The Dvergr shouted. Unless you're just too busy? Nuada stopped in his tracks. He could not again forget his friends in the rush for revenge. Valkyrie, give me a boost, he shouted, running toward her. Just below the giant iron pentagram that held Nimue, the Valkyrie knelt with cupped hands. Nuada jumped, and the Valkyrie tossed him into the air over her head. He landed atop the pulsing, sucking birth tube, barely keeping his balance on the slick glass. Nuada leaned down to Nimue's fearful, pained face and wrenched the awful tube from her mouth in a spray of black liquid. As she coughed and gasped for breath, the tube gurgled its sludge angrily onto the ground. With a few quick strokes of his sword, Nuada cut her free, helping her from the altar. As she slumped over, shuddering, Nuada muttered, Rest, brave one. You suffered so much for your noble deed. He turned to find the young, stern-faced Tuathan man already at John's side, cutting away the pustules with expert blade work. As each spiny thing burst with the disgusting splash of ichor, the man didn't even flinch. Once free, John had just enough strength to give Nuada a shaky smile before he too fell unconscious and slid into the Valkyrie's waiting arms below. There was no more time to lose, and Nuada's thoughts turned to the tempter, the escaping servant of evil. Nuada searched for the secret exit in the shifting metal plates that formed this room, but it had vanished. Cutting his way through the dregs of the remaining abominations, Nuada returned to the silent metal door where they had entered the birthing chamber. If he was right, there was only one place the merchant would go. He followed a return path that led back to the chamber of the Golden Throne, the chamber of Bress's folly. As he crept inside, Nuada felt a strange, slightly familiar prickling on the back of his neck. This was different from the creepy, oily feeling of the merchant's aura, or the cold nothingness of Bress. Older, and not so unsettling. The realization came to him as he rounded the back of the elaborate gold throne and entered the chamber proper. This aura was one deeply connected to the people of the Tuatha De Danann. It had to be the four treasures, stolen by Bress and brought to this place of horror, they were hidden somewhere here. He found the merchant, tentacles now fully retracted, standing over Bress on his golden throne. "Merchant!" yelled Nuada. The servant of the depths looked up. You found me. Maybe you're not as stupid as I thought. On the other hand..." With a wave of his hand, the merchant loosed the magical bond that held Bress. Giggling, the creature stepped back to watch, as the two kings of the Tuatha confronted one another. His crown flashing in the dim light of the hall, Bress stood and turned furiously to Nuada. He shouted imperiously, "Nuada, how dare you invade my kingdom?" Nuada stared at him. Bress stared back, his eyes angry. "Bress," Nuada whispered. Bress took on a wide grin. "Back to grovel? After all this time? After I shamed you before all, and took your sword arm from you?" 1,000 images flashed through Nuada's head. Pain, blood in the sand, retribution. 100 years spent in horror, desperation, and toil. One figure stood out from the rest. The young Bress, a fighter nearing his prime, desperately learning all he could. All the young Bress wanted was to defeat his rival, blessed with more natural gifts than he. Words bubbled up from deep within Nuada. "You've been deceived by the merchant. Where do you think you are?" "In my throne room. In Tir na Nog, of course," growled Bress, folding his arms. It was hard to speak. "You are in the depths," Nuada finally ground out. "You've been tricked by the same creature that tricked me." The merchant covered his mouth to hold in his laughter, looking from one to the other. "Nonsense," said Bress, visibly irritated. He swept his hand around the stone room, shrouded in darkness. "I can see the bright seashore from this window. High overhead, the tree branches form the roof of my grand hall. I smell the aromas from the forest marketplace, and I see you standing on the loam floor with your filthy feet." Bress reached behind him and drew a long spear from a hidden panel in the golden throne. Nuada gasped as he saw the spearhead burning, spitting fire. It was the Spear of Victory, one of the 4 treasures. He ducked Bress's thrust, then countered with a cautious blow of his own. "You're under enchantment, Bress. Perhaps you always were. I don't want to kill you until I know the truth." And let's see. That seems like an excellent place to stop for tonight, as Bress and Nuada battle once again. Only this time, things are a bit different. So, I'm going to mark my place, of course. But thank you all for joining me, listening to the Silverhands Becoming story, or the first half of Part 7, the conclusion of the Becoming story. I will finish this up next week, and that will really be the end of the Silverhands Becoming story as far as reading it on stream goes, I expect. In any case, until next time, let's see. Tomorrow, what streams do we have coming up? Come on, Mubot. There we go. Let's see, we had NPC clothing materials with John today. Ah, yes. Tomorrow I'm planning to do a lunchtime throwdown over lunch. So during the lunch break, a couple of folks here in the office will join me for a playtest of the board game during our midday break. And then we'll have painting all the things with Michelle. Concept artist will come on and show some of her work. And then, in case you're not sick of me at that point, I'll host a Gauntlet of Death tomorrow evening. So we'll continue on map, I think it's 11. Yeah. In any case, that's all for tonight. Thank you very much, and see you later.